Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. We got a sad week. Michigan decided to bend the knee again for no reason to the NCAA, and it leaked out that, and I'm still wondering who the NCAA leak is before I could roll, but it leaked out that Michigan's going to suspend or offer a 2-game suspension to the NCAA. So for people that are following along, because I've seen like little videos on Twitter from like these sports writers that don't understand how the NCAA works. And I'm thinking, how are you covering sports if you have no idea? They think that Michigan's saying like, we've been cheating so bad, we're going to suspend our coach some more. And they're basically just, that's not how it worked at all. So Michigan has been working with the NCAA enforcement team, right? There's a group that does the investigation. They've been working with them, talking to them. And it's been rumored, though, that Michigan's 2-game suspension wasn't exactly a recommendation from them. They had recommended Michigan do like either, I don't know if it was a joke, but someone said a 12-game. I've seen a 6-game, and I've seen a 4-game. So Michigan's like, we'll do a 2-game, right? So that's bad to me. They just decided like, nah, a 4-game. I honestly, I don't even understand why they want to do 4-game or whatever the NCAA is. We'll get into that in a second. But the original timeline was that the NCAA was supposed to meet and announce it at the end of July, remember? Because I remember talking on the show, like, this is going to come back and it's going to come out right before the season. Now, the NCAA sped this up a bit, which gives me hope because the meeting is now the beginning of June. Why would they want a heavy punishment out like now? It's not good for them, right? Like if they're going to hammer Michigan, I feel like they would do it right in July, right before the media days, if they were trying to prove a point. Doing it now when there's not really any media set up and Michigan would have like a month for people to forget about it before football started makes it seem like this might be over with. Do you agree? See, I was talking to a guy I know that like works kind of close with the NCAA, and he was saying like it's a member institution, right? So all the schools come together, and so they're getting like feedback from other schools, and like it or not, Michigan's one of the most hated schools. And the point that they brought up was like Notre Dame's one of the most hated schools too. If you go back to like their 2012 like national championship run where they didn't win the national championship, they were the runners up. They still had to give a bunch of wins vacated because of a tutor. How many other schools have tutor violations every single year? But it's because everyone was hating Notre Dame. And it seems like, and again, this isn't my opinion, but I kind of check. All right. Yeah, that would be like why the school itself kind of goes ahead and they just fight the Michigan angle. They fight it 100%. And they keep trying to dig up like little things, like tic-tac things. Like, oh, he had a cheeseburger with a recruit. Okay, they had the cheeseburger. Then what happened? Well, he might have shook his dad's hand. Okay, well, that's bad. And then they keep hammering Harbaugh over that. Like, hey, he's doing this. He's doing that. And eventually now, like the one thing that they are bringing up, like the additional suspensions that are on the table for other staffers are related to a guy that was coaching on the field when he wasn't supposed to be. Ohio State had the exact same thing. So let's see, did my mic actually die? Let's see. I don't know. We'll see. We can do a emergency thing here. Let's just switch it. See if that helps. Check. See if that's any better. I'm going to have to probably adjust my input. But properties. Check. I think it's probably this one. Check. No. You got me now? Oh, wait, hold on. I don't even have you. See if that worked. Did that work? No? What about this one? All right, see if that works. All right, this is my backup. So we'll see. I don't even know where it cut out. But I'll try to fix it post. I was worried. I told you. How many minutes was that before the power thing went off? 20 minutes? It's like unbelievable. I can't find one thing to work. Someone did recommend that you just get instead of using an interface, because I have it on pure power mode right now. I don't think I switched. Yeah, I have it on turbo mode. So it should be full width. But we'll see how this goes, and then I'll unplug it for now to see. Go ahead. I didn't have you yet. Let's see. Headphones. Maybe I need you on headphones. All right, go ahead, try now. All right, yeah, I think I got you now. All right. Well, as long as you still got me, I think we're good now. All right, yeah, I don't know where we were. Basically, the NCAA is going after Michigan for 3 different investigations, I think, still. The first one is Harbaugh meeting with the cheeseburger one that I think everyone knows about. So that one was almost taken care of a couple of weeks ago whenever they gave show cause penalties to who are the guys, Minter and I don't even know who else, Klingsdale? 2 of the guys that are in the NFL now. So it doesn't even matter, like they just gave them a show cause kind of like as a show of power. So that one should almost be done. The second one is the defensive line coach that was coaching that wasn't supposed to be. The same thing Ohio State did. That one I think got Ohio State, what was their penalty? Like a couple hours of non-recruiting. So right now Michigan's coaches are not recruiting. They haven't been on the road since the NFL draft, I think. And so that is Michigan's way, or the idea of them saying like, hey, okay, we're gonna go ahead and pull our guys back and then submit that to the NCAA. So Michigan's already enforcing that one. I don't know if that one was like already decided upon, because one of I think it was like the Yahoo guy or something, he said that like Michigan's just like gambling with a couple of like self reports now, hoping that they just accept it at June and say, all right, we're done, like close it up. Like this is it. Like Michigan hasn't been recruiting for a month. Sherrone Moore will take the 2 games. What I've heard is the enforcement really wanted games 1 and 2 because it included Oklahoma. Sherrone Moore played at Oklahoma, so he'd get the coach against his alma mater. So Michigan said, like, can we skip that game? And it made it seem like they were hinting at doing games 1 and 3, which had been 2 easy games, right? And so I think the enforcement came back and said, yo, you have to include Nebraska if you do that, which is the first Big Ten game of the year. So that makes sense. And I think that's like a good compromise, if it like from my perspective. Will that game really matter in the Big Ten? Maybe in the Big Ten, but does it winning the Big Ten matter? Ohio State didn't win the Big Ten last year, right? To me, that game doesn't matter anything. Like all the Big Ten championship game is one more game. I mean, I guess if you end up playing a freshman quarterback, that game could matter, but it also might not. Like it might not really matter. Like what if he gets in there and gets killed and gets hurt? Isn't that where Beck got hurt last year, the SEC championship game, right before halftime? So those are the 2 main ones. The last one, Sherrone Moore got suspended for the Connor Stalions investigation. That one is the biggest unknown. That one has the most precedence of just being a fine. Like anyone else that got caught with advanced scouting, it's been a monetary thing, because that rule was a monetary rule. The reason Sherrone Moore was suspended for 2 games for it is because he deleted his texts. Now, they were recovered, and there was nothing linking him to Stalions. So Michigan originally said that if they try to suspend Moore for that, they're going to fight it. And they are public about that. But with the president leaving, I feel like the Board of Regents doesn't want to fight it. And I wonder now if they've had discussions because like the reporters don't know. Like we don't know. I'm getting reports from a couple people that are kind of like close to it, but they're not really connected with the Big Ten or anything. So it's kind of just like a gamble. Like, all right, we've seen this from our school, you know, our school's like on a smaller level, and they've never like targeted this like the same school like a bunch of times like this for Harbaugh. Because I still think it comes down to Harbaugh was a leader in NIL, pretty clear. He called out the NCAA a bunch of times. He really poked them, and they were pissed off about him. Suspended him for 6 games? So like Michigan already had how many suspensions? Sherrone Moore was suspended for 1 for the cheeseburger thing, or the first thing, or whatever. It was related to the cheeseburger ones. He's already was suspended a game for that one. This is the one for Stalions, which is the one I think everyone's waiting for. Do they have proof that he stole signs. Does it really matter at this point that he stole them? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out in 4 weeks. Ironically, it's like right when the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. So you can play some Mario Kart World. If you're able to get a pre-order, I think they sold out or whatever. Then you can just take your mind off it. If they go ahead and give a penalty, oh well. See what happens. They've already said that. I've seen that from multiple reports. Like they've talked to the NCAA, even the ones saying that Michigan is just taking a shot in the dark here. And the end of the article, they always put like the NCAA has confirmed that vacated wins are off the table. Like they're not going to vacate wins, is what it seems like, unless Michigan really pisses them off here. But it seems like suspending your coach isn't going to make them, because some of the articles, it seems like it's 50-50. Some people say it's extreme and Michigan should fight it. The only person I saw was like some Florida fan, like some Gainesville writer, was like really laying into it about like how Michigan's like a dirty program. And I thought, dude, Florida's coach in basketball was under investigation. They ignored it so they could win a national championship. Michigan's never done that. Like they've never ignored a sexual assault to win a national championship. I mean, Michigan suspended dudes for whatever the sign stealing thing was in the season. Did Florida do that? I don't even know what they did with their coach. They were just like, that's all right. He's winning, boys. So anytime a Florida writer's criticizing the program, I don't care about them. You agree? Gator Gary from Gainesville. It's like, all right, awesome, Gary. Go back to your delusions. They're just mad that they're not competing in the SEC anymore with NIL. And that's why I think Michigan has a target on its back too. Because I keep getting people telling me, like, oh my gosh, you should see, because like, so NC State's been putting in some work with NIL. They hired Will Wade for basketball. And then there were some talks like, what if they did something like a big splash name? And I'm going to get this started early. Like, what if they went with the groomer, John Gruden, bring him in to compete with Bill Belichick? Belichick is like the biggest off the field disaster that I've seen as a head coach. But like, does it really matter? Right? I mean, how weird is it? Like, all right, let's say you're a dad, your kid's 17, and this dude pulls up to recruit him. He's 70, and he doesn't have a wife with him. His girlfriend gets out, and she's like 20, whatever, 4. And then your son's like, oh my gosh, that's his wife? Like, as a parent, would you feel comfortable, like in a family environment, like to send him to school there? Isn't that a little weird? I've seen people down here think that he's not even going to start the season. They think he's just doing it so that they have to have promote his son to coach the team. And I'm like, that's a really risky move. Because like, in what world would the school athletic director just say like, oh yeah, you've been a disaster. I'll take your word and hire your son. Like, he could just pick any number of other guys on the staff, right? Just like, well, we got to eat it for a year. We tried. Let's regroup. Although they could get ahead and they could hire John Gruden. He's available. They could hire him first. Well, wouldn't that be the biggest twist? If Belichick has to step down before the season and they just bring in John Gruden? Like, that would put UNC football on the map of like retired, broken NFL coaches that just randomly show up. And I will say that if that happened and they made a Final Four in football before Tennessee did, wouldn't that be like the craziest thing? Because they were the ones really pushing the groomers back in the day. They really wanted John Gruden. It seemed like it was going to happen. Then he didn't want it. Then they wanted Dave Doran. Or then they wanted Schiano, didn't they? And their fans like rejected. They rebelled. And that was like a whole thing. It was like a whole disaster, I think. So if everything came full circle, or heck, even if Schiano gets like Rutgers into the playoffs somehow and they make it to the Final Four before Tennessee, I think people would go insane. I don't think that would happen in the new Big Ten. But in terms of the ACC, let's say, this is a hypothetical for you. What do you consider the brand power football programs in that conference? Like, let's just say you're going to put together a schedule to increase TV ratings, and you're going to just pick teams that play each other every year. And I tell you, hey, I need the biggest brands. Who would you pick from, was there 18 teams now? To put in a group of like 9, say. Like half the league. No. They're not really a member. They'll be in part B of my question, but go ahead. Was that 6? So if you need 3 more, recency. Aren't they the national championship leader in the ACC? Is that a real thing? Are they? I don't know. I don't know how many unless it's Syracuse. Well, I guess how many does Syracuse? It has to be Pitt, right? 9? Don't they have like 9 or something they claim? 7? I don't think it's that high because that would be more than Michigan. I think Michigan has like the 2nd or 3rd most claims depending on who you look at. But I want to say it's like 9. I'm pretty sure they're ahead of Ohio State in terms of claims. Plus they had 2 in the 70s, right? So it's not like they're just making it up. That's because you're listening to me too much. Yeah, I looked. So Pitt does have 9. They are tied with Ohio State now. I keep forgetting that Ohio State backed in that championship this year. I thought that they only had like 7 or 8, but now they're tied for what? 1, 2. For 5th. Classic. They are the ACC leader. Is there even another ACC team on this list? In the top 10? I guess Cal. Cal and Miami both have 5. So would you include Cal and Stanford? Or even SMU? Because you're in Louisville. Because I think my last one, I would have included NC State just because like if I were picking the Big Ten, like I would have to include Michigan State. I can't just say like, oh, you're not going to have Michigan. Like, no, Michigan State, they would deserve it to be in the top upper half. Like they've had their run. They've made the playoffs. How many teams haven't even made the playoffs? That's even why if I was including recency, SMU just made the playoffs. They might be the premier NIL team. I don't think you want to put them in a lower division unless you're doing something crazy where you're saying, so this is a proposal that the ACC actually has on the table right now. They're talking about, as they're pitched to the ESPN network and other networks, they're looking to maybe just make one power conference. Think if the Big Ten East got rid of all of their easy gimme wins, which I'm a fan of having those in there, because like if Ohio State and Michigan are going to play at the end of the year, you don't want them to both be 9-3 because they're playing a murderer's row, and you added Iowa and Wisconsin to their division and got rid of like Rutgers and Maryland. Like, no, you're better off having them be 10-1 before that game or better, both 11-0. Adding in just extra tough teams, I think is going to hurt them because they have to be careful. You can't just say, hey, we're going to put all our tough teams in one division. They're going to beat each other up. And then you're going to have an ACC Coastal Division where everyone is just consistently like 8-4. And then there's no way you're going to get 2 teams in the playoffs because you're going to say like, well, we're pretty good. But if your team gets in like SMU and they get smashed by Penn State, the perception of the league is going to go down. And then you're going to say like, did they deserve 2 teams? Well, they were all 8-4. What we're going to do? And then, on the other hand, the other division, if you, like, let's say you leave out SMU and you have another division, you could have one division, like, where Florida State and Clemson are the league leaders at 9-3 or 8-4, and then SMU just rolled the table on that other division because you decided to throw all your other, I don't want to say rejects, but like your lesser schools in one thing where all it takes is one powerful NIL and you're top dog every year. And the only thing that would really hurt that layout is then if Florida State or Clemson just smash SMU in the ACC championship, and you're like, oh, I guess that is like the old Big Ten West. You're like, they're just going to get killed, and then that's going to hurt your perception too, because you're going to say, well, we're never going to include SMU then. Like, they would have to win the championship game to even get in, and then that's going to steal a bid because they're not going to put an 8-4 team in as an at-large either. So I think they got to really be careful with this. And then you brought up Notre Dame. The crazy thing is, they're talking that if Notre Dame doesn't join, they're not going to join anyway. But if the SEC goes to 9-game schedule like is being discussed, ESPN needs them to go to a 9-game schedule. And I've been waiting for these numbers to come out for about 2 years now, right? When Oklahoma and Texas joined, ESPN and the SEC, they've been fighting about a pay increase for TV. ESPN hasn't committed to that I've seen. Where the Big Ten, they have a TV payout that's jumping through the roof, I think this year or next year. So ESPN's kind of pushed back and said, you need to go to a 9-game schedule. We need more games from you. And so now the ACC is afraid that if the SEC goes to a 9-game schedule, that's one less game a week or whatever for, well, at least a week out of the year, 2 weeks. Like, is that going to get rid of the cupcakes before rivalry week, where like Alabama's playing like some nobody like right before Thanksgiving? And then those are the games like the ACC are going to be pushed off, because they're definitely going to want to have whatever other SEC game is going to be thrown in there, because it's going to be, no matter what, you're still going to end up with one extra game. It's going to be another Oklahoma versus somebody, right? Or a Texas versus somebody that's going to be on TV. And so the ACC's idea is to, hey, well, let's have a scheduling agreement with Notre Dame if that happens, to where we're going to play a 9-game schedule. They didn't say if Notre Dame was going to be the 9th game for that division, where you just have like 9 teams in one division or 8 teams in one division plus Notre Dame. And then I don't know what you would do with the other division. You're going to have cross-division games. They didn't really say what the breakdown is going to be, right? Because you surely can't just have the top 9 teams in your division or conference, whatever, play an 8-game schedule against each other every year. That would be insanity. It would have to be, what, 6-3, 5-4? I guess if you did, 9, that would give you 8 teams. You could do 4-4 and just rotate them every year, where you're guaranteed 4 good games. I think that makes the most sense. The ACC hasn't been making a lot of calls that make sense, so maybe they should call me up and I could help them plan this out. Because if you did it that way, you would do, if you included Notre Dame in your 9, you would have another division of 10, right? Just do unbalanced divisions, who cares? And Notre Dame can play in the ACC championship again. Who cares, right? You're hoping that your own conference teams can beat them. And heck, if you're doing TV payouts and Notre Dame gets an ACC championship bid, it's probably going to increase the payout for the championship game anyway. Do you agree? Like, people would rather watch Notre Dame Clemson than say like Clemson SMU. No offense to SMU, but, or who was it? Was that the championship game last year? Or was it even? I don't. Did SMU even make it? I don't even remember. Yeah, they did, because they were undefeated, weren't they, in the conference? That was their first loss. Losing to Clemson, that's how they both got in. But my thing is, if you have the unbalanced 8 teams in one, plus Notre Dame, you could play, there'd be 8 other teams in your division with you, right? You could play a 4-game schedule against them and a 5-game schedule against the 10 teams that are left. So you would play half of each division every year. Then the next year you'd play the other half. And then the next year you'd cycle back through and play, like the home and away would switch. So that way you'd have a consistent schedule. You would get to play everybody. You really wouldn't have a rival. Like, I don't know how that would work, because Clemson just scheduled a 12-year agreement with Notre Dame to play them every year. Yeah, that's where the Big Ten's in a weird spot now, because they're playing no divisions. And so they're trying to balance just what you described. But it's tough, because then you have like an Oregon and a USC mixed in there. And that's really going to throw off the balance, especially like last year. Ohio State loses to Oregon, and Penn State didn't play them, I don't think. So Penn State gets in the Big Ten championship game, even though they lost to Ohio State. It's just like an unbalanced schedule. Which is what annoys me, because when it was made, Michigan was winners of the Big Ten like 2 or 3 years in a row. So Michigan got all of the teams. Like Fox said, we want these top teams like USC and them to play Michigan every year. So Michigan gets USC, Ohio State gets UCLA. Like that, it is just unbalanced no matter how you look at it. And eventually they're going to cycle through and it's going to be reversed. But it's better than the old way, where they locked in like 8 years of Michigan, Wisconsin, and then Wisconsin is top dog in the West, and meanwhile Ohio State's locked in 8 years with Nebraska, and Nebraska stinks. And why did you lock them in for 8 years? Like, it made no sense. Like, they didn't even have to do that. They could have easily just flipped Wisconsin and Nebraska every other year for Michigan and Ohio State, and did what I did, where every 4 years you would have played both of them home and away. Why lock it in? Like, the scheduling made no sense. And that's what I'm worried that the ACC is going to do, where they're going to lock this in, thinking like, all right, we have our top 3 teams. They have to play each other every year. Because, like, I could see them doing that. where you talk about like the Big Ten, they could just say, hey, we know we have 3 teams that are better plus Notre Dame. Those 4 teams are going to play each other every year. Then we're going to have the other ones, like we were trying to figure out, like, do you include Louisville? Do you include SMU? They don't really care. You're just going to rotate through them with the rest of the conference. Like, we really just want our top teams to play each other so we can tell ESPN that, hey, you have however many games that would be. 8 games? Like, I don't even know what the math would be. More than that, like a year that you're going to get on TV. Because the ACC could plan it out where there's one marquee ACC game every year. It's just the same teams. I don't think people would mind, right? Because like there's probably a huge drop-off from like Miami to Pitt even on TV, as long as Miami is good. Because if one of them kind of falters, then you're really... Like when Michigan was down with Rich Rod, like that kind of threw off the Big Ten balance. Now that they're back, everything was like clicking again. Penn State never really went down. Ohio State never really went down yet. But if one of those falls down, now you have Oregon and you're hoping like they can just be there to pick you up. The ACC is betting Notre Dame is there to pick them up, but they don't have any skin in the game. They're kind of just using the ACC again to get a tougher schedule because they know that people are making fun of their schedule. Like I saw a guy that was saying that Michigan's national championship schedule wasn't as tough as Notre Dame's run because, like, I don't know, because they included like the expanded playoff extra game against like Georgia or whatever. I'm like, you could go down that schedule and cancel off. Like, who would you rather have played? Like, Michigan played Ohio State. That's who you lost to. They played Alabama instead of Georgia. Like, okay, those are equivalent. I don't even know who Notre Dame played first. It wasn't someone tough, was it? I don't think so. Wasn't it Indiana? You wouldn't have, if I told you, Matt, before the season, hey, would you have rather played that Indiana team or the Washington team Michigan had to play? You're going to 100% say the Washington team that was undefeated and had Penix, right? Like, you're never going to pick the Indiana team that was 11-1 or whatever. And so that's where I think the Notre Dame argument falls apart. Like, I could go game by game, and once you reach that certain point, Michigan's schedule from that year is already better than Notre Dame's because Notre Dame's regular season schedule was complete garbage. So, like, okay, then what are you looking at, right? Go team for team. No wonder Notre Dame's looking for an ACC bump because, yeah, they made it to the national championship game. ACC was down. Now the perception is ACC's down. Oh, that's who Notre Dame's playing? Their schedule's going to be even weaker this year. They're going to have to go undefeated or whatever to try to get into the playoffs again. Even though, who did they lose to last year? It wasn't Marshall, was it? Wasn't it like Northern Illinois or someone? That's another thing too. Michigan wasn't losing to teams like that. They had a margin of victory of like 25 points. They didn't have like any close games. Like Notre Dame wasn't even pulling away from some of those teams. So I get it. Notre Dame fans, you're upset about the playoffs, but it's kind of your own doing. You could very easily join the ACC if you think they're that weak, and you could be the top dog, and you could be like what Oregon was to the Pac-12 or whatever. Are you going to win it every year? No. But you should have the clout to compete, and I think that's what they're afraid of. Because what if they get in, and then they go on a run where Clemson and Florida State's beating them every year, and they turn into the Penn State? Are they going to get in every year? Penn State's made the playoff one time, and it was the expanded playoff. They have as many playoff appearances as Indiana, Michigan State. Who else made it one time? Not A&M. Where else didn't even... Some teams didn't even make it. That's what's even funnier. Like, Miami still hasn't made it. SMU made it more times than Miami. So, if Pitt gets in before Miami, dude, I think they should have like a Big East blockbuster party like back in the day where Miami tore the Big East apart and kind of really screwed everything up by leaving back in the day. I bet if they went back in time, they wouldn't do that. They were on top of the world, and now they created this monster of a conference. But people keep telling me they're not going to, the other schools in the ACC are not going to be able to keep up with Miami spending. So we'll see. I don't know. What other NCAA things did I have? I think that was most of it, right? Any ACC stuff you wanted to talk about? Or college football, I guess, in general. And so, do you think it matters? Because I know some people say, like, well, if a player transfers, like it's like a knock. Like, if they're going to transfer back, it's not as, they're not going to be as good. But, like, would you even care? Like, if a guy went to a program, the only thing that could really happen is if they get bad habits. But like, let's say if Florida State lost a guy to so-and-so school, that school has a bad year and they transfer back. Wouldn't that just be a win? Yeah, it's going to be a new world because you're right. You don't want to have players just like mercenaries come in that you're not developing, because then you're going to lose all your high school recruiting. Because that's one thing that I hear from schools like right now where Notre Dame is getting a bump. I think they have the number 2 recruiting class because they're saying, like, look how their guys have been developed in-house. They haven't really been relying on transfers other than, well, like Riley Leonard or whatever. Like, they've brought in transfers. But a lot of their guys are kind of homegrown. And I wonder, like, are they going to get a bump? Because eventually, if some of these teams that, because I keep hearing, what, they have that thing where, was it Saban and like Tuberville were getting together and they're trying to get Trump to like push through some NIL regulations. All of that is just a sham, right? Anytime you put a cap on it, it's going to go back to, and I think the cat's out of the bag, and I don't want there to be a limit. People keep saying like, it's bad for the sport. It's bad for the sport. It's like, who are you a fan of? Oh, I'm an Alabama fan. It's like, it's bad for you. Like, you guys were on top of the world because you can't tell me that your program was clean. Like, you can say development, but you're not getting, there's no way you can say development and then bring in a top 5-star guy and tell him, hey, you're going to be on the bench for 3 years. You might get to play your senior year. But that's what Alabama was doing. Like, there's no way that makes sense. And now we're seeing it with NIL, and they're complaining about it because now guys that come in, they're being promised like, yo, you're going to be able to compete for a starting spot. They get on campus. They know that was a lie. And now they're transferring out because they're saying like, oh, I was told I was going to be getting the number 1 carries. Oh no, you're the 3rd running back. Okay, well, I'm gone. Like, you're going to guarantee me the number 1 spot next year? And I know as a coach, you don't want to guarantee it, because I think that's what Michigan got into with Sherrone Moore last year. He said, there were some comments where he said like he's learned, like, you can't just promise because it's going to be hard to fulfill, and then that's going to hurt the locker room. Locker room first. But now it's more balanced where with the portal, I don't even care. If a coach can leave, a player should be able to leave. And I've been on the side of it where like it's so one way where a school can cut you at any time. So like they can cut you, make up a reason, make it medical, whatever, and then they don't have to pay you or do anything. So now, yeah, I want some regulations on it, but if they try to cap it and say like, uh-oh, each school can only pay whatever, $20,000, then you're going to go back to having bagmen on the side. And I feel like every school that's pushing for some type of regulation are all schools that have been named as having bagmen in the past. Am I wrong? SI did that investigation where it's like, hey, Ole Miss, whatever, like these are all the things that are happening. These are confirmed bagmen activities. Oh, here's a guy getting drafted. Oh, there's text showing that the coach is paying his mom's utility bill. Like, yeah, okay. That's what they want to go back to? Like, what kind of crap is that? They can't tell me that they have the best interest in them for the players. Like, they clearly never played sports. Because, like, heck, dude, I would want my teammates to be getting paid if they were worth it. Like, if I have a dude leading one of my teams to, like, a championship, yeah, get him paid. Don't put a cap on it and have him meet a guy at McDonald's for, like, a bag of cash. Like, that's really shady. And then you don't even know what's going to be in it. Like, don't limit the earnings. That's what I'm saying now. Some guys, it's better. They keep saying it's bad for college football. We're actually going to see better football because now guys, like, they look at Quinn Ewers and they see where he could have came back and been Miami's quarterback and made a couple of million dollars. Instead, he went pro in like the 7th round. So now we're going to be getting NFL type guys that would have normally been drafted coming back. We're going to have higher quality college football. And I think you've already seen it with Michigan getting guys back, Ohio State getting guys back. Those other teams couldn't compete with Ohio State or Michigan the past couple of years because they've been getting guys that normally would have went drafted in a later round. They're getting them to come back. And when you have a team full of guys that are NFL guys, it's making the sport better. I don't care what anyone says. They're not unbeatable teams. Look, Ohio State had 2 losses. And so I would rather watch good football. Yeah, sorry, some poor schools are going to complain about it because now their bagmen are ineffective. Because there's no way a bagman could outbid like what an actual guy's worth. And let them do commercials and stuff. I mean, they're paying backup quarterbacks to do weird commercials. So in the NFL, Let me see college. That's what I want to see. People stop talking and complaining about college football being ruined, because we're going to be seeing the best football that college has offered in a long time, because we're going to be having higher quality athletes stick around. That's why the NFL scouts have been complaining, saying that, hey, what did they say? There's like a 3-year lull now where they think that the draft isn't going to have as much depth, because guys that are normally late round guys are going into college. And I've actually heard rumors of recruits or guys that came out. They're working on possibly a lawsuit. I don't know if you saw this, where if they didn't get drafted by the NFL, the rule is, because they put their name in, they have, like, whatever it is, they signed away their rights, like they can't come back to college. But if you had another year of eligibility, why can't you come back, right? Like, I don't know, like, using Donovan Edwards, everyone knows, a huge fan of his. He's 2 runs, sealed the national championship game for Michigan early. I think he was a senior. I don't know if he had a COVID year, but he comes out this year, doesn't get drafted. What if he just said, like, he gets his NFL offers, he knows that they're going to be like rookie salary. What if a booster said, you know what, come back? Wouldn't you want your guy to get paid? Like, as a fan of college football, I would love to see Donovan Edwards come back another year and see if he can, like, break Ohio State again. Right? That would be fun. That'd be funny if he could do that. Right? Like, if Quinn Ewers wouldn't have got drafted, what if some team that needed a quarterback? Like, what if he just came up and came back to, like, Indiana or something? And then they went on another run and made playoffs 2 years in a row. Like, it's better for the sport. And then the NFL teams, they really have to draft guys, because they could work an agreement out where, hey, you sign an agreement to enter the draft. If you get drafted, you're giving up your rights to the college, and they work it out with the NCAA, right? Or maybe even expand the draft a little bit and do, like, the NHL does, what, future rights? Where, because the NBA, like, they have their slotted first round. Anyone in the second round, whatever. Like, what if a guy doesn't get drafted in the NBA and he came out? He could put a lawsuit to come back to college and get paid more. Because you don't want to be in the G League. Are you even going to come out of there? But they could work out a futures rights. Like, I'm wondering if we're going to see the NFL draft become more of like a hockey draft, where, like, maybe this past year Jeremiah Smith isn't allowed to play based on the NFL rules. But instead of the Titans taking Cam Ward, what if Jeremiah Smith was number 1? And they're betting on his future, right? Because, like, if he could also not sign, though. Didn't Bo Jackson famously not sign? And then he had to put his name back in? I don't know if the rule changed, though. Yeah, because that could be what it is. Like, you could draft a guy that's coming into the league right now. Or if your team wanted to gamble, you could draft the rights to Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, knowing that in 2 years he's out. Now, he could get injured, and then the NFL would just, give them a compensation pick the next year or two? Whatever the equivalent was. Like, how many guys would we see? Like, I wonder how many they would take in the first round for a future. Or do you, because the first round's, like, so popular, are you only taking real guys that are coming out right now? It'd be interesting to see. I would like to see that. Plus, then me and you would probably know more guys than what the guys on ESPN know, because they're not going to follow recruiting that close to know, like, freshman so-and-so coming in and being, like, the top, like, draft pick, right? Because, like, what if Bryce Underwood, you have no idea what he looks like, right? Other than he's a top recruit. He could flail out at Michigan. He could, like, just stay undersized or whatever, like, because you know how freshmen have to build up. Would a team draft him in the first round? It's not like, you know what, like the Raiders or the Browns every year, Raiders are drafting every, like, stud wide receiver. They're locking up Jeremiah Smith. Browns are drafting every QB, and they're like, one of these guys got to hit. Right? See, I don't think he could do that with an executive order. That would go to the court. That's what I'm saying. His NIL thing, yeah, but I don't think they would do anything. Like, I don't think there's any way Congress would pass it right now, right? I think all it would do is lock things up in court, and I don't think anyone wants to see that happen, because that's going to be even more of a mess, right? Now, if he gets Congress on it, like, I don't even know what they could do, because I still think if you try to limit basically interstate commerce, like, what are they going to do at Congress? They're going to take it to court. The court's going to find these guys as employees, and you can't limit an employee's salary for whatever reason. Like, you can have steps or whatever, but you can't tell me that, like, if so-and-so wants to pay Jeremiah Smith for, like, a ton of Nike commercials, that they're not just coming out there and paying him, right? Some schools can do that. Like, if Oregon's like, hey, come to Oregon, be our guy. Look at all these new commercials you'll be in. All right, I'll take it. Doesn't matter what Trump signs. That's my thing. Because I was tying it into how much more exciting would the draft have been this year if everyone's talking about, like, oh my gosh, Steelers are going to take Sanders. Are they going to take him? Are they not going to take him? And then they take the future rights for Arch Manning instead. And then all year, Steelers are tuning in. Like, the ratings for Texas would go through the roof. All the Steeler fans would be like, please be good. Please don't get hurt. Right? Don't get hurt. Please be good. Because, like, you wouldn't know. You would still have, like, guys like late bloomers like Penix and Cam Ward that kind of teams are still going to take. But they wouldn't be taken as high. There's no way. Like, I still think teams would gamble. And, I mean, Arch Manning would have been probably taken 3 drafts ago, though. But think of how different it would be this year. Because the last thing I have on my schedule to talk about is Aaron Rodgers. There's supposedly a gentleman's agreement with him and the Steelers where he'll be ready for camp and he's going to be the starting quarterback of the Steelers, kind of guaranteed. And I don't know if that's going to work out or not, but I had said that they probably work something out before the draft. I was surprised he didn't sign right after the draft, but then he has the media pressure. Steelers are in the spotlight. For what reason? Like, just let it go until July, sign him, bring him in right for camp, or heck, skip some of camp, try to keep him fresh. But it would be a totally different scenario if they're like, all right, all we have to do is wait for Arch Manning to leave Texas and he'll be a Steeler. And then, boom, Aaron Rodgers for a year. I think Steelers fans would be very excited. Like, would TJ Watt be wanting out? Probably not, right? So, I don't know. I like, that's what it comes down to. Would it make football more exciting? I think it would be a little bit harder to follow for some people. And the draft might not be as exciting if your team's drafting a futures guy. But I wonder if the NFL would get rid of the age limit then too. Good. Well, like Jeremiah Smith right now, everyone was saying, like, no, he could play right now. He wouldn't have to wait. I think it would be up to the team's discretion. Like, they draft Arch Manning. They know he's raw. Yeah, he could get hurt in college, but then, like I'm saying, like the NFL, like if you get hurt in college, the NFL would have some rule to give them compensation, right? If he gets hurt, if you bring him into the NFL too early and he gets hurt, you're screwed, right? That was you. That was your bad decision. So, like, it would make college rostering a little bit different, but you could also see some college teams, like traditionally, like Steelers are taking Big Ten guys. Like, they're close to Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. Eagles have been taking, like, Georgia guys. So you can see, like, where some teams would have kind of like that agreement where, like, hey, yeah, who should we draft late in rounds? And then, like, it kind of just gives you another field, too, where if you're an NFL fan, you're not really a college fan, and you know that you have a bunch of, like, futures guys down in Georgia, yeah, you might start cheering for, like, street racing or something, because that's, like, what they're into down there. It's like it gives you a little bit something else, like, to pay attention to, I think. Right? I don't know, it makes sense. Like, Eagles fans, like, street racing, it would all work out. Georgia, all tied together. Winning Super Bowls, winning SEC championships. I was arguing with this friend of mine, and he was saying about, like, how great the SEC was. And if Ohio State's kicker didn't shank that field goal against Georgia, the Big Ten would have the last 3 national championships, because I don't think TCU was beating that Ohio State team either. So that's something to think about. That's my last thought. Georgia wasn't as dominant as what people said. They remember the TCU blowout. They don't remember that Ohio State's guy missed the field goal to win the game. A game Ohio State had the lead in the entire game pretty much. And it was like a big lead too. Wasn't it like 28 to like 12 or something like that? I think it was 28 to 14. I don't remember. So that was when Marvin Harrison was there and they couldn't cover him. So we could be in a Big Ten world. If the ACC could somehow work out a weird scheduling quirk, that's not very Power 4, like, right? Like with my thought is, this is my final thought. If the ACC was doing something so great, wouldn't the Big 12 be hurrying up and copying it? Because it would put them in a position to do the same thing. Like, oh, we'll get 2 bids. Well, they'd have to have a family member, right, on the board. Give them a sweetheart deal. Anything else you want to talk about today? SEC, I told you. Texas is big money school now. They're like the SEC version of Michigan and Ohio State. And the SEC really doesn't have another big money program, right? I was trying to think of it. Would it be Tennessee? Like Tennessee threw some money around back in the day, in the 90s. If Vanderbilt started to just lay out SEC championships, wouldn't that be hilarious? But I feel like you have to have the infrastructure. Like, would Northwestern be able to? Because even just looking at like endowments, like A&M should still be up there. I think they're number 2. It's Texas. I think it was A&M, then like Michigan and Notre Dame, and maybe Duke. Like Duke football could really do some damage. That's why I was almost considering including them in that big money school thing. But I don't know if people watch Duke football. It'd be better for them to be in the weak division that they could maybe win it every year. Them and SMU throwing private money around, right? I think that's what the ACC needs. But heck, yeah, if Florida State can win a World Series and keep it out of the SEC hands, that would be great. I don't want to see too many SEC national championships. I think if the Big Ten can start winning them in other sports, like with the LA schools, and then if Stanford can keep their thing going, winning most of the other ones, they're in the ACC now, we could really see a squeeze on like what national championships is the SEC actually winning, right? Baseball would be a big one. Softball would be a big one. That could go into the ACC or like some of the Pac-12, old Pac-12 schools that are now Big Ten. Because you have, what other ones? Track and field. That one would be like a hit or miss type thing, scenario. So, I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about? All right, well, thanks for listening. And let us know if there's anything you want to talk about. I know I messed up the Michigan talk with some hardware issues, but I gotta fight the power, man. I gotta figure out these energy saving things. It's driving me nuts. I don't know why they would take us down like that. Who'd buy a device that just shuts things off for no reason? But we'll find out if it gets fixed, and I'll see you next week.